Hi students, welcome to the discussions on the finite element methods. Previous class you have seen what is the strain displacement matrix. E was given by B multiplied by Q, where B is called the strain displacement matrix, which is a 3 by 6 matrix. Also we have seen the shape functions. Right now we'll take a numeric problem. This is how the problem: evaluate the shape functions for an interior point P of a triangular element shown in figure. Right, this is how in Cartesian coordinate system the uh, present with node numbers 1 2 3 whose interior point is shown as point P 3.85 comma 4.8. Let us say all these dimensions are in mm or centimeter or consistent units or feet or in pounds as appropriate, right? Then here the nodes 1 2 3 has these geometric coordinates as 1.52 2 7 3.5 3 4 7 respectively. Then here what is asked is evaluate the shape functions for this interior point P, right, having these Cartesian coordinates. Then we know the isoperimetric formulation given by this formula that x is equal to summation of ni xi. There I'll say n1 x1 x2 n2 x2 n3 x3. It's a summation. Y is equal to n1 y1 n2 y2 n3 y3. It's a summation. But here in the problem, what is given is x is 3.85, maybe mm or inch as appropriate, consistent units, right? Say mm. N1 is unknown, but by x1 for the first node is equal to 1.5 mm, and N2 unknown, multiplied by x2 7, N3 multiplied by 4. That is of the first equation. Similarly, that of the second equation is y is 4.8 for the interior point P is nothing but 2 multiplied by n1, 3.5 multiplied by n2, and 7 multiplied by n3. Then that is how the two relations have three shape functions n1, n2, n3. Hence, it cannot be solved. Either you use the third equation or you write these n1, n2, n3 in terms of local coordinate system, right? Or alternatively, we know the property of the shape functions that it's a summation must be equal to 1. That is how n1 plus n2 plus n3 is equal to 1. Solving these simultaneous equations, we'll get n1 is equal to a value n2, n3. All the three results will get. Or alternatively, what we can do is that we know that these shape functions, which were expressed in terms of Cartesian coordinate system, xi and eta, are now recalled. That n1 is xi. The above equations, n2 is equal to eta and n3 is equal to 1 minus xi minus eta. Hence, substituting these in the above two relationships. Therefore, two equations are there in terms of two unknown polynomials, xi and eta. It can be solved, right? That is all. Now doing it, now I'll get 3.85 minus 4 is equal to minus 2.5 multiplied by xi, because this n1 is n1 multiplied by 1.5 means 1.5 multiplied by xi. Here 4 m3 will have minus 4. Therefore, 4 minus 4 plus 1.5 will lead to minus 2.5 xi. Similarly, the other term that is there is plus 3 xi plus 3 eta. First relationship. Similarly, the second relationship is 4.8 minus 7 is equal to minus 5 xi minus 3.5 eta. Solving these two equations, now we'll get the result as xi is equal to 0.3 and eta is equal to 0.2. Right? That is all. Now I have the shape functions. Substituting that, now I have the shape function for the first node as 0.3, shape function for the second node. This first node as 0.3, the second node 0.2, and third node as 1 minus xi minus eta is equal to xi is 0.3 and eta is equal to 0.2. Substituting with, now I'll get the shape function 3 as 0.5. Let us check whether all the summations n1, n2, n3 is equal to 0 0.3, 0 0.2, 0.5 is equal to 1. Yes, I got unity is the check. Is the check. Right? There is a small application problem, and this is the second problem, student. There, for the same uh, above previous data or previous data problem, you try to write the Jacobian of the transformation or Jacobian matrix or simply Jacobi J matrix, right? But we already derived that Jacobi or Jacobian of a 2D 3-node element as x13, y13, x23, y23. But for now, substitute what is x13 means x1 minus x3, x1 minus x3. Therefore, x1 is already 1.5 mm minus x3 is equal to minus 4. Similarly, substitute other coordinates as y1 minus y3, 2 minus 7, and x2 minus x3, 7 minus 4, and y2 minus y3, 3.5 minus 0.7. That gives the result minus 2.5, minus 5, 3, minus 3.5. That is how the Jacobian of the same triangle is obtained in terms of Jacobian of transformation, right? This is a constant matrix. It won't depend upon xi and eta. Even we can see that this is a constant matrix, right? Constant matrix. Now, the third problem for the same data, for the same triangle, what you have seen for an interior point, its location is given. Now you obtain or find the strain displacement matrix B, right? We already derived the strain displacement matrix, which is the 3 by 6 matrix as 1 by det j, y230, y3100, 1, y12, and 0x320, x13, 0x21, x32, y23, x13, y31, x21, y12. Now I'll substitute the numeric values where what is the det j value is 23.75, determinant of that Jacobian matrix. This Jacobian matrix is 2.5 multiplied by 3. 3.5 2.5 multiplied by 3.5 minus of minus plus 15 multiplied by 2.5 multiplied by 3.5. That now works out 23.75. Then that is how the Jacobian, it's a determinant value. Then we already know what is y2, y3. y2 minus y3 is equal to minus 3.5. Likewise, you go on substituting the others. Then you'll get this B matrix, which is also a constant matrix. Hence, sometimes this 2D 3-node triangle element or triangle element, which is called CST element, is a constant strain triangle. A constant strain triangle. Fine. Then let us move to the next derivation, students. Students, I hope you understood all the three small application problems of the fundamentals what we learned in the previous video or previous discussions, right? Now let us move to the further derivations of element stiffness matrix and element body force vector and element traction force vector using potential energy approach, right? Then we know that stress sigma is given by d multiplied by epsilon, and where d is metal property matrix and epsilon is the strain displacement matrix. And we also know dv, elemental volume of a small element, given by t multiplied by dA. And we also know that the potential energy of that 2D continuum is given by this equation, half over integration over all such elements having an area A epsilon transpose D multiplied by epsilon multiplied by dV, where dV is equal to T multiplied by dA. That is a strain energy of all the elements, right? Similarly, the work done by the body forces minus u transpose f t dA or minus u transpose f dV, where dV is equal to T multiplied by dA over area of that element. Similarly, work done by the traction forces u transpose T ds, where ds is equal to T multiplied by dl or integration over L, and work done by the concentrated loads, if any, summation of UIPIs. That is all. Here there is no temperature load considered, but all that is it may also be considered, as we have seen in the one of the videos, right? That Now this is for all such elements, summation over all such elements. For what you have discussed is this for one element, hence the total potential energy of this 2D continuum is over all such elements. The strain energy of one element, summation of u is, and the other work potential terms. Right now I go to the derivation of element stiffness matrix Ke, element stiffness matrix Ke, right, notated by small k to the subscript e. Then for which I'll recall the strain energy of one element given by this half integration over a area epsilon transpose d multiplied by epsilon multiplied by dv. dv is t multiplied by dA. T multiplied by dA. Right. Actually, this is epsilon trans. We already know that epsilon is nothing but b multiplied by q. B multiplied by q. Therefore, now substitute that. Now I'll get q transpose multiplied by b d d multiplied by bq. bq. Actually, d transpose itself is d because d is a symmetric matrix. D is a symmetric matrix. Right, epsilon is equal to bq multiplied by d, t multiplied by dA. Please see that in this integration, we do have q, b, d. All these are the constants. They can be taken out of integration. And now I can write that as ue, strain energy of one element, as half q transpose multiplied by some matrix multiplied by q. That some matrix is nothing but element stiffness matrix given by this Ke as integration over area of that element AE B transpose dB dV. dV is equal to T multiplied by dA. Therefore, B is also constant, D is also constant, B transpose is also constant, T thickness is constant. Therefore, taking them out of integration, what is left inside the integration is only dA. Integration dA will lead to area of that element. And so the element stiffness matrix of 2D 3 node triangular element, which is 6 by 6 matrix, can be obtained as B transpose dB multiplied by volume VE or T multiplied by AE. T multiplied by AE. Right? Then once we get this element stiffness matrix for one element, then what we'll do is we'll assemble the global structural stiffness matrix. Structural stiffness matrix capital K, and we'll also get the global load vector capital F, which is a summation having the contributions one from body force terms Fe and traction force terms Te and concentrated loads if any, and temperature loads also if at all. Other types of loads are there, they'll also come into picture. Once I formulate that global load vector F, then I can write the equilibrium equations as half q transpose kq minus q transpose f is equal to 0, or that leads to equilibrium equation of this entire 2D continuum as kq is equal to f, where capital K is the structural stiffness matrix and where capital Q is the global displacement vector and capital F is the global load vector. Global load vector. Then let us see the properties of this stiffness matrix K. However, we know that K matrix, element stiffness matrix, is a symmetric matrix, right? Means Kij is equal to Kji, right? And it can also be written in a banded or sparse form, so that we can minimize the memory allocation. We can minimize the memory allocation, right? Using good node numbering. If bad node numbering is done, then this banded or sparse form will also require more memory allocation. That we have seen in 1D to 1D elements. Please refer back to the discussions on the 1D elements. There we have seen the importance of the node numbering on the banded form, form or bandwidth, half bandwidth, right? And the third one is that K this these node numbers, if I assume this given by I1, I2, I3, then now I'll say that the maximum element node number difference is I1 minus I2 mod means only positive value, I2 minus I3 minus I1. The maximum of these, right? Node number differences. Then we'll write the half band width notated by NBW as say maximum of these um, maximum of these differences, where for each element 1 to last element, maximum of these node number differences plus 1 is the half band width that multiplied by 2, that multiplied by 2 is the half band width, right? That is how uh, half bandwidth can be calculated. Half bandwidth can be calculated. Right? Then let us move back to the next derivation as a derivation of element body force vector notated by F with the subscript E or Fe. Then I'll take from that potential energy terms the work done by the body forces as U transpose F dV. dV is equal to T multiplied by dA. Hence, we already know that U is equal to NQ given by this equation, where U is equal to 2 by 1 vector, where N is a 2 by 6 matrix and Q is a 6 by 1 matrix, right? Then we also know what is F, the forces, body forces, which can be split into X and Y directions respectively, right? Fx and Fy, which is a 2 by 1 vector. Now I'll back substitute these in the above equation. And so the above equation will now become Q transpose, because this U transpose is nothing but Q transpose multiplied by N transpose, that multiplied by F dV, right? For Q transpose is nothing but that 1 by 6 matrix operated upon N transpose 6 by 2 means I'll get matrix multiplication of these two matrices as say 1 by 2 operated upon 2 by 1. I'll get 1 by 1 result. Right? That force is an element body force vector, right? Element body force vector, right? Then there is a here Q transpose can be taken out of integration because it is a constant, or I can say that this is nothing but Q transpose multiplied by a vector. That vector is element body force vector notated by Fe, which is nothing but integration over element area AE, area of that element, and transpose F TDA. But you have to know what is N. N is nothing but N0, N2, N1 0, N2 0, N3 0, 0 N1 0, N2 0, N3. That is 2 by 6 matrix. Therefore, N transpose is equal to 6 by 2 matrix given by this N1 0 dash dash up to 0 N3 operated upon F matrix, which is given by Fx Fi 2 by 1 matrix. Now I'll get 6 by 1 matrix. 6 by 1 matrix. Right? That is how the element body force vector I'll get. Right? Means N1 multiplied by Fx, 0 multiplied by Fi, 0 multiplied by Fx, N1 multiplied by Fi. That is how that matrix multiplication will give rise to this, that N1 Fx, N1 Fi dash dash up to N3 Fx, N3 Fy, which is 6 by 1 matrix operated upon volume dV or T multiplied by dA. If you do integration for one each of the element, that integration over AE. This gives element body force vector. Element body force vector. Therefore, Q transpose multiplied by Fe is this matrix. Fe is this matrix, which is called element body force vector. But let us see. We already know that N1 is given by xi, N2 by eta, and N3 by 1 minus xi minus eta. Therefore, now I'll take any one of the above terms. Let us say the very first term, that Fx multiplied by t can be taken out of integration, right? Can be taken out of integration. That integration N1 dA, Fx multiplied by t, but N1 is nothing but xi xi that multiplied by, but dA can also be written in terms of xi and eta as det j d xi d eta, det j d xi d eta. That is how the next property of the or next use of the Jacobian is that it can be used. Even we have seen that area can be written in terms of Jacobian, right? Jacobian, right? A is equal to det j by 2, right? I'll use that one. Therefore, dA is nothing but det j multiplied by d xi d eta. Therefore, the Jacobian matrix will try to help in transforming the areas from local coordinate system to the global coordinate system. There is also another transformation that is possible, right? Hence, that is why it is called a Jacobian of transformation. Then you please see that here I do have this det j d xi d eta for one element, this being 2D element, two dimensions are there for integration two times, right? Then fx multiplied by t, they are constant out of integration. Then d xi, xi means varying from 0 to 1, 0 to 1 along xi direction. Then eta will vary from 0 to 1 minus xi, because this xi plus eta is equal to 1. N3, that N3 relationship is that inclined line, xi plus 1, xi plus eta is equal to 1. From that, now I can say that eta is equal to 1 minus xi, eta is equal to 1 minus xi, right? Therefore, using that, now I can say eta will vary from 0 to 1 minus xi over this uh, integral xi multiplied by det j d xi d eta. Now let us integrate this first with respect to eta. That is how fx te det j can be taken out of integration. Integration over 0 to 1, xi is equal to 0 to 1, eta is equal to 0 to 1 minus xi multiplied by this xi d xi d eta, d xi d eta. But if I integrate this with respect to eta, now I'll get xi multiplied by eta, because I have integrated with respect to eta, then lower bound 0 to 1 minus xi. Substituting lower bound and upper bound, I'll get that leads to xi multiplied by 1 minus xi multiplied by dxi, right? Then now let us integrate this with respect to xi. Then I'll get xi multiplied by 1, xi square by 2, xi square means xi cubed by 3, 0 to 1, lower and upper bound. Then substituting the lower and upper bound values, now I'll get 1 by 2 minus 1 by 3. Or outside already we do have 2 fx te multiplied by ae. Now from the inside I do have 1 by 6. Therefore now it will lead to 1 by 3 fx multiplied by te multiplied by ae, means 1 by 3 multiplied by fx multiplied by volume, right? Fx is the density of the material, of the 3D element that multiplied by thickness multiplied by area means volume, right? Therefore that is how 1 by 3 is distributed to the node 1. 1/3 of that load is distributed to the uh, the node 1. That will say, right? 1 by 3 fx multiplied by te multiplied by ae. Similarly, you take the other terms, it can be proved that fi t multiplied by n1 dA can also be proved that 1 by 3 fi t multiplied by ae, fi multiplied by volume of that element. Then substituting these, the above equation can be written as 2 transpose multiplied by fe, where q is q1 2 dash dash up to q6, which is the 1 by this 6 by 1 matrix applied upon this fe. Fe is nothing but volume by 3, t multiplied by a divided by 3 fx fi, right? That is how the element body force vector, or alternatively what we can do is even from the fundamentals, integration over n1 dA means nothing but this area under this shape function n1, which is having one unit ordinate, for n1 is equal to 1, right? There is a area under this n1 curve. If I integrate Therefore, now you will get volume of this tetrahedron. Volume of this tetrahedron. Okay? Therefore, that is how volume of this tetrahedron is nothing but 1 by 3 base multiplied by height. Here the height is equal to 1 unit, n1 is equal to 1, but that base is nothing but the base area. In plan, this is the base area AE. Therefore, here also I can prove that integration n1 dA is nothing but 1 by 3 multiplied by AE. 1 by 3 multiplied by AE. Therefore, now we can say that where Fe is element body force vector given by the 6 by 1 matrix and given by this T multiplied by AE or volume by 3 Fx Fi Fx Fi Fx Fi transpose, which is 6 by 1 matrix, which is 6 by 1 matrix. Fine. Then means, what is the meaning of that is that the self weight of this triangle, which is concentrated at the CG of this element, which is concentrated at the CG of this element, will try to share 1/3 of the load self weight to node 1, node 2, node 3 respectively. Node 1, node 2, node 3 respectively. That is what the meaning of that element body force vector. Element body force vector. Then let us see also the derivation of element traction force vector TE. Then let us take the element which is acted upon by a traction force. Let us say this side or this side 1, 2 is acted upon by a traction force of intensity T. This green color is a traction force T acting on the side 1, 2, 1, 2. That is why I am applying a force, right? Therefore, if this force is acting on the side 1, 2, then it will not contribute to any load to the node 3. Therefore, entire load is distributed among these two nodes only, right? Then what I'll do is I'll have this traction force into two components, Tx and Ty, at each of these nodes. Along x direction Tx, along y directions Ty, right? Then, however, if this traction force is acting in the positive x and positive y direction, right? If this Tx is in the positive x direction, that is Tx is positive. If this Ty is in the positive y direction, then you take that as positive Ty. Whereas if they are acting on the left-hand side direction Tx, then that is minus. If Ty is acting in the downward direction, that is how, this is how negative. These are what? Negative notations, right? These are what? Positive notations of the traction forces, right? Then sometimes the traction force, what is acting, will not be constant. It may be varying triangular fashion, or it may be varying in trapezoidal fashion. That is how you can see that if it varies from T1 to T2, T1 at node 1 to T2 at the other node, then what you do is you split this T1 into Tx1, Ty1, similarly T2 into Tx2, Ty2 along positive Cartesian coordinate directions. Positive Cartesian coordinate direction. That is all for the varying traction forces also. Then now, if I take an interior point within this side 1 to 2 at a distance of small l, or at a distance of xi, local coordinate direction at a distance of xi, the ordinate is equal to t. That can be written as Tx Ty. That is how the traction force vector is given by Tx Ty transpose, right? But we already know using that isoparametric formulation that the traction force at this unknown point, which can be interpolated using these Tx1, Ty1, Tx2, Ty2 as the shape function multiplied by Tx1, that second shape function multiplied by Tx2, plus the third shape function multiplied by Tx3. However, the third shape function value is equal to 0 because the load acting on this surface surface 1 2 will not be contributing to this node 3, hence n3 is equal to 0. Hence I can say that n3 multiplied by this term will not be there. This will vanish. This will vanish. Only two terms will be there. Hence tx is equal to n1 tx1 plus n2 tx2. Ty is equal to n1 ty1 plus n2 ty2. N2 ty2. Right. And once we see this, then I'll take this like this, that Q transpose multiplied by T. I'm recalling the work done by the traction forces as Q transpose multiplied by T multiplied by ds, where ds is equal to the thickness of that element multiplied by this length of that side 1 2 or 2 3 or 3 2 as appropriate. Therefore now the traction force is acting on side 1 2, therefore it's a length L12. If I take the work done by this traction force, then I can say that Q transpose can be taken out of integration. Thickness is also constant. Therefore, now what remains inside of the integration is integration T multiplied by dl. But T depends upon the shape functions. It cannot be taken out of integration. Just now we have seen that Tx is nothing but xi multiplied by Tx1. Then n1 multiplied by tx1, n2 multiplied by tx2. Therefore, that depends upon the shape functions. Hence, they will remain inside the integration that multiplied by dl. Therefore, Q transpose integration over n transpose t dl. N transpose t dl. Right? That is how the integration. Right? Because this tx and ty are written as n matrix n operated upon T matrix, right? There is n transpose multiplied by T multiplied by dl, right? Then R, that is nothing but the same, these two relationships, right? Q transpose multiplied by n transpose multiplied by this tx is nothing but n1 multiplied by tx1 plus n2 multiplied by tx2. Similarly, this ty is n1 ty1 plus n2 ty2 that operate upon n transpose. Right? N transpose. Then now I'll write what is n transpose means. This is n1 0 n1 dash dash up to 0 n3. This is 2 by 6 matrix operated upon this n1 tx1 plus n2 tx2, n1 ty1 plus n2 ty2, right? Therefore, now I'll do n1 multiplied with this, 0 multiplied with this, 0 multiplied with this, and n1 multiplied with this, right? Then that is how it will now lead to this 6 by 2 matrix when operated upon 2 by 1 matrix will lead to 6 by 1 terms. That is how Q transpose multiplied by 6 by 1 vector, which is integration. The first row of that is integration over TE element thickness n1 multiplied by n1 square multiplied by tx, right? n1 n2 tx2 multiplied by length of that, because dx, we know the relation between dx and dxi as the relation between local and global coordinate systems for 1D 2 node element, because now the third node is not coming into picture. Therefore, this 1 to 2 node is represented by 1D 2 node element, right? 1D 2 node element. The first shape function n1 for this first node is 1 minus xi by 2, and the second shape function for the second node is equal to 1 plus xi by 2, and xi is equal to 0 is the CG of this element. Therefore, that is how, for which we know the relation between local and global coordinate systems, and it's a differentiation as dx is equal to Le by 2 dxi. If I substitute that here, now I'll get length by 2 multiplied by dxi. That is how the very first multiplication of that row over this vector, right? Likewise, you do the others, you'll get integration over t n1 square ty1 n1 into ty2 l1 2 by 2 dxi, and two more rows you will get. Two more rows you will get. Whereas the you'll get 6 by 1 vector. 6 by 1 vector. Right? Now, next. Now I'll take what is that here in integration n1 square is there. Therefore, let us see what is the n1 square multiplied by dxi. This is for 1D 2 node because the load is acting on one line. One line means I've just taken out that one line on which attraction force is acting. Therefore, this is how 1D 2 node element, 1D 2 node element, n1 square. We already know that what is n1. N1 is nothing but 1 minus xi by 2 whole square means 1 minus xi whole square divided by 4 dxi. From minus 1 to plus 1, 1D 2 node element, please see the lower bound is equal to minus 1 to plus 1. Therefore, now expanding that, now I'll get 1 plus xi square minus 2 xi, and integrating that, now I'll get say xi plus xi cubed by 3 minus xi square minus 1 to plus 1. Substituting lower and upper bound, I'll get 8 by 3 inside, outside 1 by 4 is there. Therefore, now it becomes 2 by 3. 2 by 3. Integration n1 square dxi will become 2 by 3. Similarly, let us see what is it. The matrix multiplication of these n1 and n2 dxi. Right, n1 n2 the multiplication of these shape functions n1 and n2 over dxi integration, right? That minus 1 to plus 1, n1 is 1 minus xi by 2, n2 is 1 plus xi by 2. Therefore, 1 minus xi, 1 plus xi means 1 minus xi square by 4. That 1 by 4 is taken out of integration, and its integration is xi minus xi cubed by 3 minus 1 to plus 1, or that gives inside, if I substitute lower and upper bound, I'll get 4 by 3 operated upon 1 by 4. Hence, that gives only 1 by 3. Hence, integration n1 n2 dxi is 1 by 3. Similarly, you can prove on your own that n2 square dxi as n2 is 1 plus xi whole square by 4 dxi akin to that of n1 square dxi 2 by 3. 2 by 3. For now, I'll back substitute all these in the above equation. Hence, the q transpose multiplied by te multiplied by n1 tx1 2 by 3. Sorry, n1 square tx1 right? That and the other values, right? 1 by 3 tx2 multiplied by le by 2. Similarly, the second row t multiplied by 2 by 3 ty1, 2 by 3 this one, right? And n1 square is that 2 by 3, n1 n2 is equal to 1 by 3, right? That is why I'm substituting here, right? Substituting which, now I'm getting this result, say as the second row t multiplied by 2 by 3 ty1 plus 1 by 3 ty2 multiplied by le by 2, and the third row te 1 by 3 tx1 plus 2 by 3 tx2 le by 2, and fourth row te multiplied by 1 by 3 ty1 plus 2 by 3 ty2 multiplied by le by 2, and last two rows are 0 0 because there is no contribution to this third node. When load is acting on this side, which is connected by only these two nodes, it will not contribute to the third node. Therefore, 0 0. That is how 0 0, right? Or the same may also be written like this, as say q transpose multiplied by this te, where te is called element traction force vector. Element traction force vector given by this either 6 by 1 vector, or if you are taking on the entire 2D 3 node element, it is a 6 by 1 vector, or if you are only taking on the one side, it is 4 by 1 vector as appropriate, right? Given by this, say 4 by 1 vector notated by this notation te, given by this equation, t multiplied by length of that line on which this traction force is acting, L12 divided by 6, 2tx1 plus tx2 along x direction, right? 2ty1 plus ty2 along y direction at the first node, tx1 plus 2 tx2 along x direction at the node 2, ty1 plus 2 ty2 along y direction at node 2. These are the equivalent equivalent loads due to this traction forces, right? These are what called equivalent loads due to the applied UDL or traction forces, right? Then let us see if the traction force is varying from Q1 to Q2, then let us say this is inclined at an inclination of theta with respect to the vertical, right? Vertical, right? And let us say these are perpendicular. These forces are perpendicular to that line 1 2, right? Perpendicular to that line 1 2. Then or sometimes what may be also given is that this q1 and q2 may be inclined at an inclination of theta with respect to the horizontal, right? This q1 is making an inclination of theta with respect to the horizontal. Similarly, this q2 may also be making an inclination of theta with the horizontal, right? Then let us say I'm assuming so that q1 and q2 are making an inclination of theta, right? Then I can resolve this q1 into two components which are acting along x direction as qx1, right? And qy1. Similarly, this q2 can be resolved into qx2 and qy2 respectively, right? Then where qx1 is nothing but q1 cos theta and qy1 is equal to q1 sin theta. Using those direction questions, we can write. Then if the Cartesian coordinates are given for this node 1 and 2 as x1, y1, x2, y2, then we can find out the length of this side 1, 2, L12 as square root of x2 minus x1 whole square, y2 minus y1 whole square. Then also from this figure, I can say that if this is theta, this is also theta, then that is our theta. Hence, cos theta is nothing but the adjacent side, means that y2 minus y1, by length of that element or the hypotenuse, right? That is how cos theta or c rotated by c or L is y2 minus y1 by length of that element. Similarly, from the same figure, we can say sin theta is nothing but x1 minus x2 by length of that element. These are what called the direction cosines. The direction cosines of the given triangular element of that element, right? Then now using this direction cosines, now I'll write what is this qx1 in terms of q1. Therefore, that is what qx1 is equal to from that figure q1 cos theta. However, that q is acting in the negative direction of x. Therefore, now I'll put minus q1 multiplied by cos theta. Cos theta is nothing but y2 minus y1 by L12 acting in the left direction, hence minus. Similarly, qy1 is q1 sin theta, but that qy is also acting in the downward direction, therefore negative. Downward direction, therefore negative. Minus q1 x1 minus x2 divided by L12. Similarly, at the second node, you can write in a similar fashion that qx2 is equal to minus q2 cos theta minus q2 multiplied by y2 minus y1 divided by L12. Qy2 is equal to minus q2 multiplied by sin theta is equal to minus q2 multiplied by x1 minus x2 divided by L12. These are the components of that intensity of the traction force load that is acting at node 1 and 2 respectively. Students, I hope you're understanding this. Now let us see an application of this concept using this problem here. For a 2D plate shown in the figure, determine the equivalent point loads at nodes 7, 8 and 9. 7, 8, 9 for a linearly distributed pressure force acting on the nodes 7, 8, 9, 7 to 9. That is all. Right? It is linearly increasing from an intensity of 1 MPa at node 7 to an intensity of 3 MPa at node 9. And actually that inclined surface, that entire 2D continuum is split into discretization at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 number of elements, 2D 3-noded elements, of which on this inclined surface, the traction force, varying traction force from 1 MPa to 3 MPa is acting. And what are the coordinates of this node 7, 8, 9 are given. That of the node 7 in mm are given by say 120, and that of the 8th given by 85, 40, and that of the 9th 70, 60, 70, 60, right? Then from this geometry, all the dimensions are in mm, students, and the thickness of this 2D continuum is 10 mm. 10 mm. Now what I'll do is I'll take that of the first element. Let us say that first element is along that node 7 to 8. 7 to 8. Similarly, that second element is from 8 to 9. 8 to 9. Then using these Cartesian coordinates that are given, let us say my first element or 7, 8. I'll say this 7, 8. I'll take out that 7, 8, right? Then I'll say that 7 as x1, y1. The x1 is 100, y1 is 20. I'll move to the second node. Local 2 is global 8 now, right? Local global relationship. Therefore, x2 is 85 mm, y2 is equal to 40 mm. That is how. Using this, now I'll find out what is the length of this side 7 to 8. X2 minus x1 whole square, y2 minus y1 whole square. Substituting, you will get 25 mm. I'll do similarly the same for the second element, second inclined length 8 to 9. Therefore, doing which, now the for this the local first node is global 8th node, local second node is global 9th node, global 9th node. Therefore, you substitute now, this is of x1, x2, y1, x1, y1, x2, y2 for the second element. Therefore, doing which, now I'll get length of that 8 9th line is also x2 minus x1, 85 minus 70 whole square, 60 minus 40 whole square, 25 mm. We can check that here both the lengths are equal, 25 and 25, means that node 8 is the mid node of this inclined surface. Therefore, once we decide that this is the mid node, then the pressure what is given is it is varying from 1 MPa to 3 MPa. Therefore, at a mid distance, how much will be the intensity of the pressure? Now I can interpolate. Therefore, it is varying from 1 MPa to 3 MPa. Therefore, at half distance, it is how much? Therefore, it is nothing but 1 plus 3 minus 1, 2 divided by LE by 2. Therefore, 1 is additional increment. Therefore, 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 MPa. That is how I'll do interpolation. After interpolation, I'll get the intensity of the traction force or the pressure force that is acting in the inside of the material. These are acting inside, means negative side. If they are acting away from the material, they are positive. Generally they will be acting in the positive coordinate directions, right? Then answer, that is how 2 MPa I got. Then I'll take the first element. Therefore, that is how the first element with the side 7 to 8 with varying intensity of the pressure 1 MPa to 2 MPa acting inside with their components leading to negative pressure coefficients. Therefore, for this 7 to 8 element, I'll find out what is cos theta, because I already know the coordinates x2, x1, y1, x2, y2, which are given by this x7, y7, x8, y8 as x1, y1, x2, y2. Substituting with, now I'll get cos theta is y2 minus y1 divided by its length, or it works out 0.8. Similarly, sin theta x1 minus x2 divided by length, or it works out 0.6. These are the direction cosines of this element, right? Once I get the direction cosines, now I'll try to have components at node 7. This 1 MPa can be split into 1 cos theta, 1 sin theta, 1 cos theta, 1 sin theta. Therefore, along x direction, the component is minus T7 cos theta. Why minus? It is acting in the negative x direction. Therefore, Tx7 is minus T7 cos theta. But already at the node 7, 1 MPa is acting. Therefore, minus 1 multiplied by cos theta is 0.8. Therefore, the intensity of the pressure in the x direction, that is minus 0.8 MPa. Similarly, Ty7 is minus T7 multiplied by sin theta, it gives minus 0.6, means that is how minus 0.6 MPa acting in the downward direction. Similarly, you do at the next node, you will get Tx8 is equal to minus T8 cos theta or minus 2, because there the intensity of the pressure is 2 in the downward direction, minus 2 multiplied by 0.8 minus 1.6 MPa. Similarly, Ty8 is equal to minus 2 multiplied by 0.6 minus 1.2 MPa. The units are, all these units are MPa, megapascals, Newton per mm square. Once I get that, now I'll substitute in this formula that the equivalent point loads due to this varying traction force vector given by this formula, T multiplied by that length divided by 6 to Tx1 plus Tx2 Ty1 plus Ty2 plus Tx1 plus Tx2 plus Ty1 plus Ty2, right? Substituting with, now I'll get say this result as say 10 multiplied by 25 divided by 6 minus 3.2 minus 2.443, or upon multiplication, it gives a result minus 133.33 MP newtons, minus 100 Newton, minus 166.68 Newton, minus 125.01 Newtons. All are minus, right? That is how you please see that same is shown here in the schematic direction, that at the 7th node, minus 133.33 newtons acting in the negative direction. Similarly, this 100 is along the y direction, acting in the downward direction, and these two also acting in the negative direction, minus 166.66 along x direction and minus 125.01 newtons are the equivalent loads at the nodes because of the traction force. Students, I hope you are understanding. That is how we obtained equivalent loads if traction force or pressure intensity is given for the side 7, 8. I think similarly you can do for the next node, next element also. I'm just skipping off that, right? It is akin to that, but only change in numerics that will give at the 8th node. I'm skipping off its solution because I elaborately explained for the first element. Hence, doing that, now I'll get at the 8th node. This is how in the x direction minus 233.33 Newton at 8th node acting in the downward direction. Minus 175 newtons at the 9th node acting in the x direction, 266.7 newtons at the 9th node acting in the y direction, minus 200. These are the equivalent loads because of the traction force acting on this surface 8 to 9 next element. But this is a continuous element having 7, 8, 9. Therefore, where this 8th node is a common node for this first element as well as second element. Therefore, now I'll use the law of superposition. Therefore, here at the 7th node, there are no superimpositions. Simply you just bring and copy and paste them. Therefore, that is a minus 133, minus 100 acting in the downward direction. But at the 8th node, contributions from the first element, minus 166 in the negative direction, minus 233. Therefore, minus 400. Minus means in the negative direction. Similarly, the contribution from the first element, 125 plus 175 acting in the downward direction, it gives 300 newtons, right? Whereas these will not superimpose. Simply that minus 200 minus 266.7. That is how equivalent point loads are obtained if at all a traction force is applied on a given surface, right? Fine, students. In the next class, we shall further see the other discussions on this 2D 3 node elements, right? Thank you, students, for watching this video. If you like these discussions, try to click like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, right? We'll meet with another video in the next class. Till then, bye bye, students.